Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses. As we continue with part 42, Paracelsus, Book 7, Some Christian Students of the Kabalah, from the Doctrine and Literature of the Kabalah by Arthur Edward Waite. 5. Paracelsus. Among the great names of occultism which are cited in support of the influence exerted by the Kabalah and the authority which it possessed, that of Paracelsus is mentioned. We are given to understand, for example, by Isaac Myer, that it is to be traced distinctly in the system of the great German adept. Statements like these are themselves a kind of Kabalah, which are received by one writer from another without any inquiry or any attempt at verification. In this way, we obtain lists of authorities, references, and testimonials which seem at first sight to carry great weight, but they will bear no examination and defeat their own purpose when they come into the hands of a student who has sufficient patience to investigate them. In the present instance, we have to remember that Paracelsus occupies an exceptional position among occult philosophers. He was not a man who respected or quoted authorities. He owed very little to tradition, very little to what is understood commonly by erudition. If we take his alchemical treatises and compare them with Hermetic literature, we shall find that they are quite unlike it, and that he was, in fact, his own alchemist. When he concerns himself with magic, he has few correspondences which will enable him to be illustrated by other writers on this subject. Again, he was his own magician. And to come to the question of the Kabalah, if we discover on examination that he has anything to say concerning it, we should expect that it would be quite unlike anything that went before him, and quite foreign to the known lines of Kabbalism. Once more, we should find that he would prove to be his own Kabbalist. In every department of thought, he illustrated his own maxim, alterius non sit qui sus es potest. It must be added also that any contributions which he offers are seldom helpful. They do nothing to elucidate what is obscure in previous authorities, and they constitute new departures which are themselves much in need of explanation. Nearly 2 centuries elapsed between the death of Moses de Leon, the first publisher of the Zohar, and the birth of Theophrastus of Hohenheim, and though no attempt to print it took place till some 40 years after his turbulent life closed so sadly at Strasbourg, or wherever it actually occurred, there can be no doubt that it was quite accessible in manuscript, or that Paracelsus, had he chosen, could have made himself acquainted with its contents. And it seems fairly certain, however, that he never acquired the language from which it had not been translated, and that his knowledge of the Kabalah would in any case be limited to what he could gather from authors who wrote in Latin or some current tongue. But his own works show that he was at very little pains of this kind. As to this, it is only necessary to collect the few references on the subject which they contain. The study of magic and the Kabalah is enjoined several times on the physician, and old medical authorities are scouted on the ground that they were unacquainted with either. The Kabalah is in one place identified with magical astronomy, which I presume refers to the Paracelsic theory concerning the stars in man and the stars of disease, and connects with the contextual statement that all operations of the stars in all animals center at the heart. It is identified also with the magic itself, of which it forms a part. But from indications given in another place, Kabbalistic magic seems to have signified some obscure operations with the faculties of the astral body. Subsequently, this point is exposed more plainly when the Kabbalistic art is said to have been built up on the basis of the doctrines concerning the sacramental body, which appears after the death of the corruptible and explains specters, visions, apparitions of a supernatural character, etc. The art of judging what is concealed by certain outward signs in a word, the theory of signatures, is said to be the Kabbalistic art, once called Kabalah, afterwards Kabalia. It has also been falsely termed Galamala from its author, and is of ethnic origin, having been transmitted to the Chaldeans and the Jews by whom it was corrupted, for the Jews were exceedingly ignorant in all ages. Finally, the use of certain prayers and signacula, that is, talismans in the cure of diseases, is connected with the Kabalah. These meager instances exhaust the 3 folio volumes which constitute the Geneva collection of the works of Paracelsus. I should add, however, that there is a short section entitled Kabalah, which forms part of a treatise on the plague, but it is concerned with the official elements of early science and with the alchemical elements salt, sulfur, and mercury. There is also a reference in one place to some books of the Kabalah, apparently the work of Paracelsus, and in this case no longer extant. By the student of Paracelsus, that loss may be regretted, but it is not of moment so far as the Kabalah is concerned, for it is evident that this term, like many others, was made use of in a sense which either differs widely from its wanted meaning or is the lowest form of that meaning. The Kabalah for Paracelsus, when it is not something quite fantastic and unimaginable, is a species of practical magic, and here we shall do well to remember that the adept of Hohenheim flourished at a period when, as we have seen, the spurious literature of clavicles and grimoires was fast multiplying. It is very difficult to judge Paracelsus, and many false statements have been made concerning him by friends and enemies. But it is well to know that he was not a student of the Kabalah in any sense that we should care to associate therewith. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and comment, and if you can, please consider donating to Wars of the Roses. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much,